There we are, live on YouTube. Alright, there's my hand wave. Awesome. So, looks like we're live right now. So, a couple of minor things, as this is a live stream, so I'll just ramble on about a bunch of random things. I just figured out that apparently when you live stream on YouTube, it doesn't publish your stream to your subscribers. You have to go in and manually do that. So I've just done that. Right before starting this stream about 5 minutes ago, I went through my live stream list. I don't know, it's a separate one from your videos, and I clicked public instead of unlisted. So that's a little irritating. So some of you might be a little confused or maybe missing out on the past video about this $10 PC. So if you want to watch that live stream, go ahead and go on the channel and look back at that one. That's about, it was just shy of 2 hours of me messing around with it. So if you don't feel like looking at that one and you just want to know a little bit about what we got here, I'm trying to do my best with camera setup, but over here is the PC. It's a well, it's a custom build. It's got some kind of Asus motherboard. It's a slot motherboard. It's got a 733 megahertz Pentium 3, 640 megs of RAM. I don't know. I don't really remember. It was yesterday and I forgot already. The specs are pretty unremarkable. Looks like my sound is clipping a little bit, so let's turn that down. Also, where the hell did my chat go? There's my chat. So yeah, specs are pretty unremarkable. There's nothing too terribly amazing about it, but if you really want to know what's in it, I just go back and look at the stream, skip through it if you want. So now that I have the chat up, okay, just general comments. Awesome. Nice to see you back. Thank you. So, yeah, today we're going to install ReactOS from the CD that's already in the CD-ROM drive. I actually already tried installing ReactOS last night after the stream, and I had a couple of issues. The main one being that my disk that I've had forever, I mean, it was an ancient version of ReactOS. It was all scratched up and pretty much unusable. So I ended up burning a new one. I've already popped it in the drive, but I haven't... I tested it to see that it booted to an installer, but I didn't install it yet. So, yeah, we'll see when we boot this thing up that it's already got a partial install of ReactOS, but it's not going to boot properly if we were to try to boot into it. So if you see a partition on there when we go through that says it's formatted in a certain way that only ReactOS uses, then that's the reason why. Somebody says use a USB thumb drive. I could do that, and I do have somewhere a disk for Plop Boot Manager, because this thing doesn't natively support USB booting. But I'd rather just go the CD route because I've already burned it. That's about the only reason. Somebody says, what is ReactOS? It's Linux. Not quite. It is free to download, so if you want to go and try it, don't do it on your main machine unless you want to blow everything up. But it's an operating system based on the Windows NT kernel, I think. And when we get into it and look at it, we'll notice it looks a lot like Windows XP, because that's what it's based off of. And I think the idea was to build a platform that can run most Windows XP applications and supports all Windows XP drivers, but you don't have that tie to Microsoft. I don't know the exact, can't think of the word. Licensing isn't the word I'm thinking of, but, the right to use the Microsoft kernel, I don't know how that really works out with ReactOS, how they can kind of copy it and modify it enough to make it their own without having incompatibility issues. I don't know. If you want more on ReactOS, go look it up online. But it's kind of interesting. I haven't actually ever really used it, which is why I want to use this machine to do that. Somebody says, I have a VMware eSexy system. That's just how I say it as a joke. I know that's not how it's said. I have 69 servers. Nice. Running on one main server. Awesome. Would a motherboard that old boot from USB anyway? No. This particular one, I can't tell if it actually supports it or not, but I have tried to boot from my DOS USB, which boots just about anything that supports USB booting, and it doesn't work. So, regardless of whether or not this one actually supports it, it just doesn't work in my case. So we're going old school with the CD, and we'll see what happens. Now that boot issue might just be because I'm using a certain type of USB, or maybe the BIOS version revision is a little bit different. But yeah, Jeremy here in the chat says, I have the same system, it does boot from USB. I believe you, but this one doesn't. So anyway, let's go ahead and stop looking at a blank screen here. Let's go ahead and fire it up. I gotta turn on the power first. That's a good thing to do. And you might hear a bit of noise from the power supply because the fan is cold and it's noisy. Looks like it might be catching that in the audio. Not sure yet. So this is exactly where I left off with it yesterday, minus trying to boot it from my ReactOS CD. So let's move that up so it boots from the CD first, save changes, reboot. And that fan noise will go away in a minute if that's something you can actually hear. Not quite sure if that's able to be heard on stream. It'll go away in a minute. So let's boot from the CD. I did test to make sure the CD boots to the first ReactOS loading screen, but other than that, I don't know. Now, it should be pointed out, I don't know what version of ReactOS this actually is. I just went through my, it was on my server in the OS images, or OS installers folder, so I grabbed it. That's about all I've done so far. Let's see. Looks a little bit terrible. Maybe that looks a little better. I can't really tell. In my preview window it looks okay because there's no compression. But on YouTube it does look a little bit grainy and hard to read. So, you know, we'll see what happens. So I don't know if you saw when we were going through the initial loading bar, but right over here it said loading NTOS kernel and hal.dll, things that you'll recognize from Windows. So this is ReactOS 0.4.3. What is the latest version? What is our latest version? I don't think this version is too old, but I know I've had it there for quite a while. Looks like we're on 0.4.11. So it's a bit older. Your mileage may vary if you're doing this yourself, but this is just what I had and what I ended up burning. Ah, there goes the power supply fan. Finally warmed itself up enough. So, ReactOS setup. Let's go ahead and install. That looks right. So here's where I tried to install it last night, with that fan quieted down even more. Oh, I love the sound of silence. So quiet. So this, I wasn't quite sure what size hard drive this thing had in it. because the previous owner said that he had the original drive died and he got it upgraded to something else, and it turns out it's a 320 gig drive, or thereabout, 300 something. But when we were in Windows 2000, what it had on it before, it only showed up as 128. I think that's a limitation of the FAT file system or something. I'm not saying that's what it is, but I think that's what it was. But yeah, I saw 2 partitions in there when I went to do this yesterday, and both of them were about 128 gigs, so I deleted them, and now we're stuck with one big partition. So we'll go ahead and delete that partition, and well, let's just go ahead and use all the space. Format is FAT. Do I want to do that? Is that something I want to do? There's something in the back of my mind that's telling me formatting is FAT and doing that big of a partition isn't going to work. FAT file system, max partition. Yeah, I don't feel like doing math, but let's go back and delete that partition. Delete. I'm used to hitting L for delete in Windows, but it's slightly different. And we'll create a primary partition of whoops. Let's do 20 gigs or thereabout, close enough to 20 gigs. And partition it, format it. We'll now format, yes. Yes. I guess it formatted both disks, or both partitions. Where do you want to install? ReactOS is the root directory? Sure, that sounds good. So again, if you've installed Windows XP or even Windows 2000, 98? No, just 2000, ME, things like that, you'll recognize this installation screen. It looks kind of familiar. Except for the kernel pool, kernel cache, free memory. That's nice to see, but that of course wasn't in the Windows version of the setup. So I'll give that a second to copy over. When I did it before, it took about 2 minutes. So maybe we'll get lucky and it'll take 2 minutes again. Looks like it's going okay. I'm curious to see what the resolution looks like on this live stream. 720, okay, so it should be HD, and it's showing as HD. This main camera, the one that's pointing at the computer, that'll do full 1080, but there's something strange about the way it shows up that doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't quite look right. So I've got it set to 720p. I'm looking at this screen, I'm looking at the preview screen, and I'm looking at the actual screen. What do I want to do for bootloader? I probably want to do MBR and VBR. Has been installed successfully. Take out the install media. Okay, I can do that. That's the wrong optical drive. There we go. Man, when this thing gets a little bit warm, it smells like old computer. It's kind of a calming smell, because that sounds strange, but yeah, it smells interesting. It doesn't smell like it's burning, it just smells warm, which I guess is kind of normal. Alright. Seek for the floppy drive, no active partition found. Well, I feel like it had something to do with when it's asked me to format both partitions. Maybe see, do I have a DOS bootable disk? I have this. So this is my bootable Ghost CD. So I use this if I want to, hook up another drive and then make an image of a disk that's currently in a system. So I think this, I don't remember how I made it. It's running Ghost 11.5, and I think it's running on top of a DOS shell or something like that. So this should have DOS on it. It's basically just like if you were to make a floppy disk with DOS on it, I think it's equivalent. So let's go ahead and reboot it. Maybe if it has fdisk on there, then I can go ahead and set it active. So we'll see where that goes. Okay, there it goes. So then it's going to boot automatically into Ghost, which we can just get out of. And then maybe we've got format on there. No. Oh, yeah, we got nothing on there. Okay, well, I guess you can't really read that very well. I'm trying to look at the live stream, see how long you weren't able to see things. There it goes. Okay, so that's a little bit of a bummer. I guess I'll have to go and get a floppy disk. Where did my chat window go? I keep losing it. Load a DOS disk and activate it. Yep, that's exactly what I'm about to do. Alright, I've got my box of many disks. This one says DOS boot on it. Like DOS boot, not DOS boot. Let's go ahead and see what that does. Now, it very well might not have anything on it at all. This one also says DOS boot disk. I think I've erased these disks many times. Oh, it's reading. Starting. Okay, so that one might just work. There we go. What do we got? Just a bog standard DOS boot disk. My mind is drawing a blank right now on what the hell I'm supposed to do. I think I need a Windows 95 or Windows 98 boot disk in order to do this. Oh look, a Windows 95 CD-ROM setup boot disk. I wonder if that will help us at all. It might. It also might not. I don't remember if it would be on this disk or not. Ooh, look, we have fdisk. See, I knew there's a reason why I keep these old floppy disks around. Because on one of them, I guess I should reboot. On one of them, it'll have what I'm looking for. I just got rid of a whole bunch of floppy disks recently, and most of them were 1.44 megs, but I also had about 30 800K disks that I gave away. I kept a bunch of other ones. I didn't just throw them out. I gave them to somebody who would use them. But yeah, had a lot of 800K disks laying around too. Don't really care about CD-ROM support since we're not using that right now. Let's do a dir and fdisk. Yes. Set active partition. And we got that. And we want to make partition 1 active. So now it's active. We got A, escape, 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 reboot. Whoops, what was that noise? That's this cable hitting the fan. Cool. Glad I kept this disk. This is an official Microsoft one, by the way. And I actually think this is... brand new. There we go, ReactOS startup menu. Okay, so if we actually boot into an OS, then we will be farther than I was last night when I was doing this off stream. Refter says, hi chat, hello. I don't know how many of us are in the chat right now, but welcome. I guess I can't see it when the chat window is popped out. Man, this setup really sucks. Hide chat. And that's still down there. Well, got 5 people watching right now. So hello to the 5 of you. So it doesn't look like we're getting any farther than we did yesterday. But I can get the camera to focus a little more on this white part here. Well, that was the opposite of what I wanted, but okay. We'll just leave it at that. It might be doing its first time setup. Unfortunately, when I pulled the motherboard out, I unhooked all the front panel I/O, and I didn't hook up the power, or the disk LED, so I can't tell if it's doing anything. Does it sound like it? Yeah, it kind of sounds like it's doing something. Refter says, what are the specs of that computer? Assuming Pentium 3 256 meg of RAM, it's a Pentium 3 733. It's a slotted CPU. I don't know what that makes it a slot 2 or slot 1 or something. I don't quite remember, but it's a slotted CPU, 733 megs, Pentium 3. It's got 640 megs of RAM. I think it'll take... I'm not sure how much it'll take, actually, because it's got 4 DIMM slots on it. One of them's got 128 megs, one of them's got 512. So maybe it'll take 2 gigs of RAM? That doesn't quite seem right. But that's what it's got. It's got a 320 gig hard drive. Alright, it doesn't sound like we're getting anywhere anymore. And doing that doesn't do anything. So let's do power off and a power back on. Slot 1. Yep, okay, so it's a slot 1. 4 slots might be 1 gig, 3 slots was 768. Yeah, 768, I've got a PC back here. That's actually in... I don't know if you've watched the previous stream, but I picked this machine up only because it had the same case as my other one. And it was from the same computer builder. I thought that was kind of neat. But yeah, that takes 3 sticks, total is 768. And I was unsure of how much this would take because it's already got a 512 meg stick in it. So I don't know if that means, you know, you can put 3 more 512s in it and have 2 gigs, or if you put 2 512s in it, it's 1 gig and that's it. I don't know if it's limited by the size of the sticks or the number of the sticks. If it doesn't boot, try booting to the OS via plop. I could do that. But to be honest with you, this is exactly where I got yesterday with it. And I had thought it was just the CD that I was using, but that might not be the case because, well, I thought the previous CD was really scratched, and it was, but I burned it to a new CD, and we're having the same issue. So I'm wondering which route I should take. A lot of you, I mean 2 of you, seem to want me to do it via USB. So let me see what I can do to make a bootable USB for this. I'll go ahead and download the newest version of ReactOS. Hopefully that doesn't tank my internet too much. I'll have to check on my dropped frames and see if it's, come on, and see if the download will screw with my stream. No, I don't really want to donate because it's not working yet. ReactOS will download shortly. Okay. So it doesn't look like we're going to get anywhere with that. Okay, the download's only 106 megs, so if it does conk out the stream for a minute, it won't be for long. And this camera is not liking to stay focused. Maybe no, that'll probably make it worse. Alright. Then I have to remember how to make the bootable USB on Mac. I think I have to convert it to a CDR, and then I should be able to do it. Disk utility on the newer Mac OSs sucks so much. It is so terrible. Like, I can do most of the same things, but it's so hard to figure out where they are, and you have to go through a bunch of bullshit to do it. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Things aren't the way they used to be. So I want to convert that to a CD/DVD master, convert. That was quick. Hopefully that works. How big is that file? Okay, that's right. So then we'll restore this disk from an image, from the CDR image, and I have to check it for restore first. Sometimes I wish I had an always-on Windows machine down here for this kind of thing, but I don't. Alright, scan image for restore. Choose the CDR, scan it, type in my password, invalid argument. Why does macOS suck so much? It doesn't give you any information about, you know, what the invalid argument is, just that it won't work. Maybe I need to restore from... Do I restore the partition? No, that's not it either. Alright, well, let's try one more thing. I'll try this while I'm trying to make a USB stick. I'm going to go ahead and pop the install disk back in. I'm going to reboot. Eventually. Okay. We're going to reboot it. I'm going to try to reinstall. But this time, instead of partitioning it, I'm just going to go ahead and install it directly to the 320 gig partition. Use all the space, not have to worry about multiple partitions, setting them active. I'm just going to go ahead and do that because I don't want to. I just want this to work. I'm not going to use this for anything serious, and I'm probably just going to blow up the installation later anyways. But I want to play around with it and see what ReactOS is like. Boot from the CD. So we'll try this one more time. And in the meantime, I don't remember how to make that USB bootable. Ooh, I have a program. I think it's called UNetBootIn. There it is. Disk image, ISO. I should have just done this. Let's go ahead and plow through this installation quick here. Don't have a keyboard. That's interesting. Desktop, ISO, open. Use that USB drive, hit OK, yes to all. Let's see how long that takes us. Okay. So we don't have a keyboard. What the hell's going on? Fire again. Now, I haven't done something like this in actually a pretty long time. This is a little bit nostalgic for me. Let's put the camera down a little bit so I can slouch. Yeah, messing around with old machines and having them not work and then trying to figure out why they won't work. I haven't done that in a long time, so this is enjoyable. I like this. The camera would freaking stay at one focal length. It's really, you bastard. It's really irritating. Maybe if I just put it a little closer, maybe there. Maybe that'll stay focused. Okay. What the hell? That did just work. I don't have numlock either. Ow, bitch. Stuck my finger in the freaking fan. Well, shit. So, make sure my finger is okay. Yeah, we're fine. No blood. We're good. So, I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe whatever install I had was slightly corrupted or something. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna find my my Plop Boot Manager CD. We'll go ahead and give that a shot. See if that works. I actually went through all these CDs not that long ago and kind of threw out ones that I don't usually need. Oh yeah, you might find this interesting. This is my Windows XP 64-bit Service Pack 2 totally legit copy. I promise you it's legitimate. These are all things that I don't need. Windows 98 install. We'll throw Windows 98 on it if I can't get it to work. Windows 2000, Windows XP, CentOS, Hirons. I think Hirons has Plop Boot Manager on it. You know, why the hell not try? Nah, don't close yet, you bastard. Stay open. Trying to close on me. So I don't think this ReactOS CD is any good. And I've got at least 200 more CDs, so I'm just going to toss that. And that's right, the keyboard doesn't work. Stupid thing. I really wish I knew where that plop thing went. Ooh, I need that. I guess I don't need that. Screw it. Whatever. Whatever. Plop Boot Manager. Now, again, I don't know that this is actually going to work because, as I said at the beginning of the stream, it didn't work yesterday. But I did just make a new, fresh install, or I put an image on a fresh USB. I didn't just try to boot off of one that I had already made. So let's go ahead, boot off USB. I can't quite tell what it's doing there. You know, boot in, default, yep. Okay. So it put the bootloader on there, but it didn't copy my ISO, I guess. Alright. Strange, but okay. We'll try that again. Hello, Jacob. Welcome to today's live stream. I remember you being here yesterday. You not boot in. Try one more time. So this is the thing I like Windows PCs for, because they just kind of work most of the time. Not Windows 10, Windows 7, of course. Windows 10 sucks. Right. Choosing the ISO image. I've only got one USB installed, or inserted in the system. Hit OK. Extracting and copying files. Yes, overwrite all files. Okay, that is taking a little bit longer, so maybe it's actually doing something this time. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Okay, that is taking an immensely long time, so maybe, yeah, it actually is working this time. Yeah, so we don't need that anymore. So yeah, what else can I install on this machine? I'm sure it'll take just about any OS I can throw at it. I would do something like Windows 10, but that'll take too long. I'm not really sure what to throw on here. Okay, this is taking an extraordinarily long time to copy 100 megs. So maybe it's working. Maybe my USB's dead. Would not be the first time. Okay, your installation's complete. It will not boot off a Mac. Insert it in a PC. Okay. I'll make sure to eject it safely this time. Alright. Reboot. Try again. Bastard! Oh, it doesn't work either. Stupid Macs. Okay, so that's irritating. I can't seem to restore from the ISO, and that utility doesn't seem to work either. So, I guess I'll just burn it to another CD. I don't know what else to try. Where are my CDs? I think they're over here. Stop doing that. Hopefully that flashing wasn't too irritating. Okay. So we got a fresh CD. Not a scratch on it. Never been touched. Let's pop it in the iMac here. I'm really hoping that isn't going to be too loud when I start to burn it. And we'll do that. Burn disk image to disk. Waiting for disk to be inserted. You absolute bastard. Oh, it's looking in the wrong drive. would be why. Let's poke around in the BIOS, see what's in there while we wait for this to burn. And burn. Alright. Got an email. Who's my email from? Amazon. My order has shipped. Alright, so I'm not going to bother really setting any of this because the battery's dead. It's not going to keep it anyway. Mode 3 is the Japanese standard of floppy, 1.23. I didn't know that. It's kind of nice to know. Languages, CPU speed. So it looks like you can change some of the settings on here. That's cool. Oh, wow, you got a lot of options on this board. That's awesome. So if I still had a lot of my older hardware and I was interested in overclocking it and stuff like that, this would be a pretty decent board to do that on. It looks like I got a lot of options. Power up control, hardware monitor, where are we at? 100, I can't quite see it because the angle of the screen. 113 on the CPU. That's not too toasty. It's pretty good. Okay. Yeah, alright, so there's not a lot of options there. A removable device. Hard drive. Boot device. So, I guess when you have a USB, but I have a USB in there now. It must have showed up as something else before. Because somebody else said in the comments it supports USB booting, which I believe them, because I'm pretty sure I saw it there yesterday, but it didn't work for me, and now I don't see my USB in there, and I do have it plugged in. I might have just done like SCSI boot device and it worked. Something like that. So I'm not sure what that is. It does boot from the network, so if I had my Serva server running, then I could have just installed right from the network, probably. Comment from Jacob says, I had a USB 3 1 terabyte external drive for my MacBook Air and virtual machines, and my virtual machines were so slow that they would freeze. Now I got a USB 3 1 terabyte external SSD, and virtual machines work more now that I can do things. Yeah, SSDs are awesome. They are just the greatest. In your case, this is just, there's the DVD, or the CD. This is pure speculation, but I would say you'd probably had a 5400 RPM drive in there, as it is an external, which I find it silly to put a 5400 RPM drive in a USB 3 enclosure because the drive is limiting you so much. I mean, I don't know if the disk was failing or not, but that drive was definitely causing you some problems, as you found out. I had this kind of doing what I did kind of negates the purpose of having it, but I had a portable USB drive, and it had some shockproof armor around it, rubber, I guess, rubber corners and edges, so that if you drop the drive, it doesn't do a lot of damage to the disk. And it worked really well. It was really fast. It was USB 3. Even for a spinning disk, it was a 7200 RPM disk. You know, it was as fast as you would expect it to be. But I put an SSD in there, which I think is kind of pointless because the shockproof armor is supposed to protect the hard drive against shock. And SSDs aren't quite as, sensitive to shock. If you hit them enough, it's possible they could stop working because it is just shock in general that hurts them. But you know, is it pointless to put an SSD in a shockproof enclosure? Kinda, but I now get like 320 meg reads and writes on it instead of the 120 meg, so it's awesome. It's very nice to have. And what the absolute hell is going on? Keyboard still doesn't work. Well, that's just a thing. Well, I've got a USB keyboard here. Let's go ahead and plug that in. So I had originally unplugged this USB. It might not work till I reboot. I had originally unplugged that USB keyboard because it didn't work in Windows 2000. I don't know why I had my hand up in there while I was doing that. But now that we're running something a little bit more modern, maybe it'll just support the keyboard. We will see. We will see what happens there. Go ahead and just let it boot up, do its thing. Get rid of some of my notifications. So yeah, the keyboard definitely works. It's not an issue of, is it plugged in? But it definitely doesn't respond when you're in that installer, which is really strange because even with the old installer, when I had done this initially, it worked just fine. So the light was on and then it went off. And then I noticed my mouse. What the fuck is going on? So my mouse lit up that time. USB keyboard doesn't work at all. A USB mouse, at least, is connected. And now my PS2 keyboard works again. It's doing... I don't know what's going on. Alright, so let's go ahead and install then. Do not upgrade, except, let's delete, enter, install BTRFS. I assume that's something related to ReactOS, and I'm interested, so let's do it. That was easy. Let's see how that goes. Jacob says that, referring to that external drive, it was a Seagate Backup Plus Slim. Yeah, could have been just a slow drive that was really causing your problem there, but I think everything I own now has, except for my file server, because I need more space. It doesn't need to be fast. Everything I have is solid state now. Interesting thing to note, in case you work on... It's kind of strange for me to call it an older Mac, because I guess I've had it a long time. It just doesn't feel that old. My 2010 27-inch iMac. You might be able to do this with another 27-inch version around the same year, but you can actually install 2 SSDs in this in addition to the optical drive. These iMacs have a separate port, or an additional SATA port on the back of the motherboard. So you pop the motherboard forward, you plug a SATA cable in. You do, of course, have to get a SATA power splitter to go from the single power connector it has for the current SSD and just split it off into 2. And it's fine because it's not drawing that much power. And yeah, you get 2 SSDs and you get to keep your optical drive. It's pretty neat. And I think they did that on this version because you had the option of having a solid state and a hard drive when you did like a build to order, I think. I could be wrong on that, but I do remember hearing about that at some point. Also interesting regarding that model of iMac, they offered at one point, it was only for like a couple months, Apple officially offered it, an option of putting an eSATA port on the bottom of your Mac that actually cut a little tiny slot in either the memory door or near the speaker grill, and yeah, they'd run an eSATA connector down to the bottom, so you just had to plug things right into the bottom of your Mac. It's kind of unlike Apple to do something like that. I just thought that was interesting to mention. So we're rebooting endlessly, it seems. I'll give it one more go. But I'm not feeling it. I don't know if it's going to work. No, CD-ROM spun down again. Ergonomics be damned. Indeed. So let's boot off the disk again, and then try just a regular FAT file system. Maybe it's a hardware limitation that doesn't like that, what was it, BR NFS something file system. We'll try it again. I got time. I got all the time in the world. Except I really only have about an hour and a half, but, you know, it is what it is. Okay, keyboard works that time. Do not upgrade. Delete, enter, delete, delete. And we'll install using FAT, do a quick format. Let's see where that takes us. I noticed that took a little longer to perform the format than the other file system. Maybe it has something to do with the larger partition size. Now I got hiccups. Okay, looks like we're done with our CDs for now. So, when I was at the computer shop that I used to work at, a long time ago, the owner had ordered, 60 spindles of 100 CDs and was selling them for a reasonable price at the time. I don't know what it was. And eventually marked them down to $12, and then eventually marked them down to free. Well, I don't know if he marked them down to free for everybody, but I asked if I could have a spindle of CDs, and he said yes. So I've got two 100-pack spindles of CDs. The other one is still unopened. This is what I have left of the first one. I've used about 30 of them. I'll probably never go through all of them. See where this gets us. Luckily, it's a really fast install. That is good. Although, I guess it's not quite installed just yet. It's copied the files, it's done some setup, but I don't think it's done. There we go. That's a little more promising. Hey, we got a loading bar at the bottom. You can kind of make that out on video. Well, we did. We had a loading bar, and now it's stuck again. Well, isn't that a bitch? Huh. So this thing doesn't seem to like ReactOS as of right now. I don't know what that could be. Huh. Well, I'm going to give this a minute or two to think. I'll reboot it. I think I did this last time. It didn't do anything, but maybe we'll give it one more try. CD drive likes to close immediately after I open it. A little irritating. Do we have a... Numlock is frozen, so I'm going to assume that we're totally locked up. There's a version of Raspbian for desktop x86 machines you could try. I'm sure there is. Really wanted to get ReactOS on here because it's something I've been meaning to try. I just haven't really gotten around to it. I haven't had a computer that I was willing to mess around with for long enough to install it on. I wonder what other strange OSs I have downloaded on my NAS. It's gonna wake up all 8 disks in there. You can hear it groaning away. Why don't we try booting what unknown operating system is? Just a remnant of Windows 2000 or something? I mean, I erased the disk. Oh, it's not going to take us anywhere. That was stupid. And now we're hung up again. Okay, so USB keyboard didn't do anything. Let's unplug the USB mouse as well. Maybe that's given us some trouble. Power button got stuck. Okay. Strange. All right. OS installers. What do I have in here? Got a lot of things. Oh, you know, it'd be interesting to try. Although, before I do that, I'm just going to look it up and see if it'll work at all. Let's try... Let's try safe mode, ReactOS. See, doesn't that remind you of Windows XP? Because it kind of is. Dirty bit is set, so that means it was just shut down improperly. I wonder if it was trying to do a disk check and it just wasn't showing it. I'll give that a couple of minutes. So what I was saying is, I wonder if I can do something like IRIX on here. IRIX is an OS that I used when I had, I owned an SGI 02. And that was a really neat machine, and I hate myself for throwing it away, because it was just so cool. But, you know, what's done is done. But IRIX was kind of a cool operating system. It reminded me a lot of what a Next Step looks like. It's kind of a neat one. So it looks like we're booting into safe mode, and it's installing devices. So I don't know if it was safe mode that was the issue or my USB mouse. But let's see if I can install IRIX 6.5 on x86. I think it needs like a MIPS processor, something like that. Platforms MIPS. Okay, so I don't know if that'll work. I don't think it will. I just tried to use the mouse. That was stupid. I'm trying to do my best with the monitor, but for some reason it keeps trying to refocus itself. Owner, yeah, that's all good. Time is totally wrong, but that's okay. Let's go with the classics theme. It's a pretty easy setup. Just click yes to everything. Okay, so IRIX probably isn't going to work. Apple Rhapsody, did that work on x86? So it's going to restart itself. Ooh, Rhapsody did work on x86 and PowerPC. I wonder if I can get that to work on just like something like this, even though this is much probably newer than the hardware that it was developed on. So it looks like the developer release 5.0 and developer release 2 5.1 will work. And would you look at that? Well, you can't see it, but I have 2 different developer releases. So I think I got these releases from oh my god, where the hell did I get them from? That one website that has all these old abandonware OSs and programs. WinWorld PC. That's where I got them from. Looks like there's 2 users who have uploaded different versions of the developer release. No, I'm a moron. I'm a total moron. Because I just looked at the wiki page for it and it shows code name. So those are not users. Those are in fact the code names. So yeah, I got both the developer releases for it, so maybe I'll go ahead and burn an ISO of that and see if that will work. That would be very interesting to find out. So I was looking for drivers, install automatically. Could not install, okay. Input device, install automatically. Could not install. Communications device, probably couldn't install, yeah. Is that it? That looks like it. Alright. Let's see if I plug in this mouse, if it'll work or it'll fail to install the driver. Oh wow, that was instant. Awesome. So let's see what it thinks this system is. So it's right about the Pentium 3. It is not a 1 gigahertz though, it's only a 733. The memory is correct, that's cool. This does look a lot like Windows XP, I will give it that. Display adapters. Okay, we don't have a display adapter yet. Now, the thing I'm interested to see the most is that because this is based on Windows XP, or the NT kernel, I should say, you should be able to use Windows XP drivers and just have them work. So this has a Riva TNT2 Model 64 for a video card. So, no freaking way, does this have drivers on NVIDIA's website? What? Okay, where do I download this from? Oh, you bastard. Okay, so the version 66.93 driver does support that video card. So let's do product type legacy TNT2. Oh, wow, I didn't realize they had like every driver forever. Windows XP 32-bit search. Let's see if I can just reformat this USB and use it again. Driver release in 2007, so that's the latest driver that will support this card. And it's just an EXE. So I think this. Oh, well, that USB was probably screwing up because it never actually erased the disk. I see. I kind of thought that's what it would do when it said, do you want to overwrite? But I guess that just means overwrite any existing files that are named the same. Interesting. Let's see if it recognizes this USB right off the bat. Does it support? Yes, it does. All right. Give it a second to think. See if it notices that I plugged in a USB. It certainly is refreshing, like it thinks it sees something. Unknown remaining. Does it think it's on battery? No, it's definitely not on battery. Uh-huh. So we don't have the USB just yet. Wonder if I do a scan for hardware changes, if that'll pop up. Oh, we do have is that an error in the USB controllers? No. Well, how about we do a restart now that we're all set up and everything should be functional. See how long a reboot takes, or a shutdown takes. Not very long. Good. Very good. I already did that. Losing my mind here. Wow, that was pretty fast. Come on, camera. It doesn't like when the screen goes black very much. It needs something to focus on. It's still like slightly out of focus. There we go. Perfect. I say perfect, and then it just blows up again. Awesome. Speaking of blows up again, it looks like we are stuck. Again. Okay. Maybe we have to do another safe mode boot and try to get that graphics driver installed. Maybe that will help us out. Ugh. And we'll remember to hit F8 once we get to that loading screen. And we'll start with safe mode again, because that seemed to work last time. Nope, don't want to check that. I don't got time for that. I got time, but I don't have that kind of time. I must have booted to regular mode. Maybe it's because I have that USB plugged in. God damn it. And now I don't have a USB mouse. Yeah, I know, it's not going to install any of this stuff. I already know that. I wonder if this board just has issues with USB power delivery, something like that. Because, yeah, now I don't have a mouse at all. Alright. Restart one more time. Excuse me, got a hiccup. I unplugged the USB mouse. Focus. Focus. On my hand. Focus. Yeah, focus here. Oh, there we go. And go out of focus. You can do it. I know you can, because that's all this camera ever seems to do. Okay, so it just really doesn't like USB devices. It's an interesting thing to note. Maybe that's why we were having issues before when trying to install. So what happens if I just plug this USB drive in? So I don't have a mouse installed. I just have the USB plugged in. You can hear the hard drive doing something. Somebody says ReactOS is still a thing. Yeah, I think it's still in development, like pretty recent development. I don't know when the last release is. The latest release is 0.4.11. So I remember using ReactOS a really long time ago. I don't know what I was doing with it, but it never seemed to work quite right, so I just kind of gave up on it and then forgot about it. It looks like the latest release is as of 3 months ago. So yeah, that's the latest major release. So they are still going. Alright, so maybe we just have some USB issues with ReactOS. I'm not sure how much farther I want to pursue it, because I kind of want to try... I'd like to try Apple Rhapsody, but maybe I'll do that in a different stream. Because it is coming up on time for me to eat something, and I have been going for an hour and 20 minutes. You know, let's spend another 15 minutes or so trying to get this to work. And if it doesn't work, then I guess we'll give up and go on with our lives until the next time. So let's unplug the USB. And now that we're not in safe mode, maybe plug the USB back in for the mouse. And we're not going to get anything. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. That is mighty unfortunate. Let's see what we can do here. Doesn't want to find my mouse. Alright, so USB is a little bit wonky. I guess we'll just have to leave it at that then. It's a kind of sucky, but you know, things happen. So what now? What else do I do? I'd like to definitely try out Apple Rhapsody. That's their, I think that was their server platform, maybe? Yeah, it's what became macOS Server. So we could give that a try. What other OSs do I have downloaded that are interesting? What is that noise? Some weird noise at the door. Somebody probably just dropped off a package. I could try OS2. I've got OS2 1 to Warp 3, Warp 4. I could try all those. I don't know, pretty much anything that was on WinWorld PC I downloaded at one point. So there's going to be a bunch of them in here. But a lot of them are going to be dependent on the type of CPU. There's a lot of non-x86 based OSs that I'm not going to be able to do anything with. I got a lot of PowerPC stuff in here too that obviously won't work. I really wish IRIX would work, because that was a really cool operating system, but I'm extremely sure that that's not going to work on this thing. So yeah, maybe I'll do Apple Rhapsody. developer release 1 and 2 and see if that gives us any results. But I think that'll have to be another day. Let's check the chat again, make sure I don't have any more comments. Doesn't look like I do. Got 7 people watching, so I've been consistently having between 5 and 10 people, which is pretty neat. Looks like I topped out at 8 people today, which is about average. That's about exactly what I would expect. People might actually be watching my previous live stream right now thinking that it's actually live, but it's not. Oops. So right after this stream finishes its processing, whatever YouTube has to do, I'll post it up so that it's up and running. Yeah, I don't really want to mess around with this anymore. I got some other stuff that I like to do, so I think in my free time tonight, because it is a Friday night, I totally forgot about that. I think I'll grab some probably wine tonight, have a couple drinks, mess around with the computer. You know, I'd like to see what this live stream is doing to our internet connection, because if it's not hammering the internet connection, I might just be able to live stream at any time. My main concern is that for the people in the house, when I do something, for example, like upload a YouTube video, the internet speed for everyone else just tanks. It's unusable for however long that video is uploading. And I know that streaming has done it in the past. What am I looking for? The Wi-Fi. There we go. But I'm curious to see what kind of bandwidth we're pushing / pulling right now. So it looks like, let's do a history graph here. It's like we're doing 3 megs up. So we've got an 11 meg up connection. So now we're at 4. Let's see where it tops out at. I'm extremely hesitant to use more than half of that because I know we start running into issues. 3 megs. So we'll give it a shot, see where it goes. One thing I might also work on tonight is this. So I got a new phone. It's a Huawei Mate 20 Pro, and it's supposed to have, you know, one of the top 5 best cameras on any phone that's out there right now. And I'd say the camera quality is pretty good, but the issue I have is when I take video, the video looks okay. There's not really a problem with that. But it seems to be, I don't really know what's going on. The audio gets all kinds of screwed up. Like if I'm talking, it sounds a little tinny, but it sounds okay. It's bearable. But then if something in front of the camera makes a noise, and I'm not sure how it's doing this, but it seems to pick up that audio and completely override my voice, for example. So if I'm talking like this, and then I eject the CD-ROM drive, it'll make that CD-ROM really loud, you won't be able to hear me at all, and then it just kind of mixes it and sounds bad. So I've been kind of hesitant to make any vlog style, you know, pointing the camera at something videos, just because the audio is so not great. So I'll look into a way to make that not so terrible and see if I can figure that out, but we'll see where it goes. These live streams are great because I don't have to edit them, and I have people ask questions while I'm doing them, give me suggestions while I'm doing them. It just kind of works out nicely in that regard. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Let's check the comments one last time. Why are routers so bad at quality of service, especially on upload? Couldn't tell you. So we've got a Google Wi-Fi as our router right now, and I don't like it because I can't do any kind of customization with it. It's intended for use for people who don't particularly know what they're doing. I'm a systems administrator. Well, I will be once I actually get the job doing so, a full-time job doing so. I got a part-time job doing sysadmin stuff. So on occasion I'll deal with routers and switches, and you know, I know more about what I'm doing than most people do. I can go to the command line, I can navigate a switch pretty well, and I know what the settings do. This Google Wi-Fi is not intended for that at all. It's intended so that you hit 2 buttons and it works. Which is okay, because I like things that work, but I can't set up pretty much anything on it. I can't do port forwarding, anything. There's not much I can do. And I even tried setting up I have a Ubiquiti Edge router. It's a little 4-port one that I got just for, home network stuff. And that's sitting up there. I tried to have that before the Google Wi-Fi, but because I can't change certain settings on the Google Wi-Fi, it won't work. The Wi-Fi always wants to act as the only router on the network, it seems. And even if I install that other router in front of it, I get a whole slew of issues and it just doesn't work. And the only reason why I've been able to figure out, or the only reason why it does that, is just because it's Google Wi-Fi and it's not meant to be customized. That's basically what I've figured out that it came down to. I really don't like that thing. I really hate it. What was wrong with, setting up a manual bridge for, bridged Wi-Fi, which is part of the reason why we have it. There's no wired internet upstairs. Grr. I'm an old man. Not really, but I like how things used to be. Damn it. Get off my lawn. Anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Got no more comments. Looks like we're down to 6 people right now, so, pretty good live stream. I accomplished basically nothing. I got ReactOS installed, I guess, so that's nice, and figured out that it doesn't like the USBs, so that's something to remember for later on. Well, yeah, I think I'm going to cut it off here. I've been streaming for 1 hour and 22 minutes. That's a pretty good stream. So, we'll leave you with that. Stay tuned for the next video or live stream. Don't know when either one of those will be, but whenever they happen to be, I'm sure you'll be notified of it. So, take care, everyone. We'll see you next time. Have a good day.